Welcome to our fourth Property Finder webinar, where we share our data to help you navigate through the COVID-19 situation. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ari, and I'm the president of Property Finder Group. This is our fourth webinar, and we have more and more attendees every week, which is amazing. We will continue to shape the market and help your businesses through this time, as well as in the future. Like previous weeks, welcome to my home. We are all working from home as per guidance in Dubai. And if it's your first time here, let me start with the why we are doing this. The coronavirus situation is affecting the economy, and we're all in this together. We, as Property Finder, we want to be your best partners during this time and also in the future. This is important for us because as a company, we do well only if your business does well. Now, lack of visibility and not being able to see what's going on is a big problem in any crisis. And we have, as a company, we have a lot of data and also amazing data scientists who are working very hard to identify insights that can help you. And we will continue to share our data and insights with you today. Now, I also mentioned last week that this webinar is about helping you transact more and not about Property Finder's commercial offers. And last week, I compared this to a football game where commercial offers would be similar to defense in football, while this webinar is entirely focused on offense to help you score goals. As you would undoubtedly agree, without scoring goals, it's impossible to win a football game. It's also similar in business. We want to be your best partner in generating business as well. Now, every week, we're taking your feedback into consideration. So our structure will be slightly different this week, hopefully for the better, because it's based on your feedback. Last week, you raised a lot of questions about how to continue operating under lockdown, especially in Dubai. So after a quick introduction, we will start by answering these questions with the help of a DLD expert. So we have a surprise for you today. Then we'll share our unique data with you. I'll do a quick update on the COVID-19 data. Then we'll do an update on the impact that we see on the UAE real estate market, like what we did every week, and also share some search trends that you can turn into actions to generate more business for you. Then we will also get great insights from one of the amazing developers in the UAE, and we have another surprise for you. And our guest will also share his view about the current market. And at the end, there will be a possibility to post questions. Some of them will be answered directly in the chat if they're more like technical questions, and others during the Q&A at the end of the presentation. Now, after the webinar, like we did every week, we're going to send you an email to get your feedback so that we can do this even better for the upcoming weeks. Now, with that, let's dive into the content. Next slide, please. Together with me, like the previous weeks, I have Lynette Abad, who is the Director of Research and Data, and also Stuart Shapley, who is the Director of New Homes for Property Finder. Stuart is also running our coronavirus response approach at the moment. We also have team members behind the scenes, so we have a smooth experience today so that there are no glitches because your time is important. Next slide, please. As I hinted earlier, we also have two guests this week. The first one is Hiba Jaber, who is a senior advisor and trainer at the Dubai Real Estate Institute. And we have Atif Rahman, who is the director and partner at Danube Properties. We're very excited to have them with us this week, and they're going to come online in a bit during the next slide, please. Now, every week, we ask you if you're happy with the content of the webinar. And according to the survey and the number of participants that are increasing every week, it seems like you are, and that's why we are here today. Now, on the left side, I share how you graded us last week, and 98% of you said you want to hear more insights that can help you do more business. So we will continue to be as transparent as possible and share as many insights as possible. Met or exceeded their expectations, which is great to see. What is even greater to see is that you scored us a 4 thought that the recovery will take less than 6 months. I'm going to, my friends are saying that I have some sound issues, so I'm going to turn off my camera. Okay, so hope it's better now. So as I said, after the second webinar, 70% of you thought that the recovery would be less than 6 months. After the third webinar, 80% of you thought that the recovery will take less than 6 months. And it could be a result of adapting to a new normal, or also feeling less disoriented. It looks like as an industry, we were slightly more positive last week than the previous week, which is great to see. However, and I keep saying this every week, we all know that these are very difficult times, very tough times to go through for all of us. So this doesn't in any mean, it is not an attempt to say that things are easy. It is hard, but it looks like as an industry, we were more positive last week. Let's start with the COVID-19 situation. So the number of cases continue to increase exponentially globally and also in the UAE since we last spoke. There are now 1.7 million cases globally, and in the UAE, we have almost reached 4,000 cases. As a result, the UAE government may continue to make difficult decisions. And let me repeat this. I personally think the UAE government is doing an excellent job at managing this. And the data around the world shows that the more decisive the actions are, the faster the start of the recovery. So while we might be afraid that there are difficult decisions that are being made, it might actually signal a faster return to normal. Next slide, please. Now let's look at the, we'll start looking at the real estate data. We have the best data on the UAE real estate market, and we're now going to share that with you, like we did in the previous weeks. And we will provide you an update on the data that you saw last week. As we continuously mention, it is impossible to forecast the future. What we can do is we can show you a consistent view of how the data is evolving so that you can make your own business decisions. Then we will show you new data that you requested in your questions and what kind of actions it suggests, because we want to help you manage this your business well during this time, as well as in the future. I will now hand it over to Lynette again. Lynette?
Thank you, Ari. So every week we show you a critical piece of information. So the number of listings and number of listing views or impressions. So here's the update for this past week. So as you can see on this slide, the number of listings continue to slightly decline. So we've had a 3% decline against the previous week for both sales and rental. So I will repeat that again. We've had a 3% decline in listings against the previous week for both sales and rental. Now, when we look at this number and we compare to how it is working across the world in the US, UK, and Europe, this is a very low number. In the US, there's been a decline of 50% in listings. In the UK, 70%, Europe, 50%. So again, there's been a 3% decline here in listings. However, the number of views increased for the second week in a row. So as a reminder, listing views are important as they are the very top of your sales funnel. So the number of views increased. So what does this insight mean? Well, I think that once everyone has become used to working from home, staying at home all day, I think they're now starting to think about where their next move is going to be, whether they're in a rental or sales. Therefore, this could be a reason why the number of views have increased. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at leads. The chart on the left is the weekly comparison of sales leads year on year, updated with last week's trend. So if it is above the line, it means that there were more leads that week compared to the same week last year. So I'll repeat that again. If it is above the line, it means that there were more leads that week compared to the same week last year. So as you can see, the leads continue to be impacted since the lockdown in the UAE. Now here in Dubai, we're on full 24/7 lockdown. However, the other Emirates aren't. So if you look to the right, you will see that sales leads are now significantly higher than the same week last year for the other Emirates. So in Abu Dhabi, we're seeing a 22% increase in leads. And in the Northern Emirates, we're seeing a 35% increase in leads compared to last year. Again, I'll repeat myself. So in Dubai, we're on a full lockdown. However, the other Emirates aren't. So in Abu Dhabi, there's been an increase of 22% in leads, and in Northern Emirates, an increase of 35%. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at trends for apartments and villas separately by emirate. Now, it's really important for us to break it down to the lowest level because we're starting to see trends shift, especially from searches for apartments to searches for villas. So in Dubai, sales leads for apartments continue to be the most impacted, a 47% decrease last week against the first week of January. Now, the decline has been across all price categories except for apartments above 10 million. Now, this is a very interesting insight, and I've been doing some research of what is happening in other markets. And we're seeing the same trend in the US and Europe. And basically, these are high net worth individuals who are on a bargain hunt. They're looking for a very good deal for luxury properties. Also, sales leads for villas were also impacted, an 18% decline last week against the first week of January. So within this category, villas below 1 million is significantly higher than the first week of January. Now, this is very interesting. And my hypothesis is that someone who is potentially looking for an apartment might be shifting and looking for a villa at the same price. And as you know, we have many villas within Dubai under $1 million that you can buy today in areas such as Dubai South, JVC, JVT, and Dubai Land. I think that, and what we have shown in the trends over the past few weeks, we're seeing that the trends are shifting from outdoor space to villas, to pools and balconies. So I personally believe that people are very much valuing their personal outside space, and they're shifting from looking from apartments to looking for villas. Now, between the range of 1 to 5 million is also very low, and above 5 million is slightly higher. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. You have these high net worth individuals who are on a bargain hunt looking for good deals right now in the market. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at the other Emirates who are not on full lockdown. And this is very interesting. In Abu Dhabi, sales leads for apartments were the most impacted. So they were down by 23% last week against the first week of January. Below 3 million is lower than the first week of January. Above 3 million is higher. So again, in Abu Dhabi, for sales leads for apartments, below 3 million is lower than the first week of January. Above 3 million is higher. Now, sales leads for villas were up by 32% last week against the first week of January. Again, this goes to all the trends that we're seeing, the shift from apartments to villas. All price ranges except for 1 million to 3 million had more leads last week than the first week of January. Now, this is for villas in Abu Dhabi for sales leads. So again, all price ranges except for 1 million to 3 million had more leads last week than the first week of January. However, villas below 1 million had 5 times more leads last week than the first week of January in Abu Dhabi. And this is the same trend that we're seeing here in Dubai. We believe that people who are potentially looking at apartments have now shifted looking for villas because they're now valuing the personal outside space, which is what we're seeing in the other trends as well, which we reported to you in our previous webinars. Next slide, please. In the Northern Emirates, we're seeing the same kind of trend. So sale leads for apartments were most impacted, down 14% last week against the first week of January. So the decline has been across all price categories except for apartments below 250,000 dirhams. So in the Northern Emirates, for sales leads for apartments, the decline has been across all categories except for apartments below 250,000 dirhams. Sale leads for villas were up 16% last week against the first week of January. So for villas between 1 to 5 million, we had more leads than the first week of January. all other price categories have lower leads against the first week of January. So the most popular range for villas in Northern Emirates for sales leads is between 1 to 5 million. Next slide, please. Rental has a similar trend, with leads decreasing since the lockdown in Dubai and to a lesser extent in Abu Dhabi. However, the rental leads in the Northern Emirates continue to increase significantly against last year. Let's have a look at the rental leads trends by price range. Next slide, please. In Abu Dhabi, rental leads declined since the first week of January across all price categories, except for apartments above 500,000 dirhams. So I repeat that again. In Dubai, rental leads declined. However, for apartments above 500,000 dirhams, they did not. Next slide, please. In Abu Dhabi, rental leads declined since the first week of January across all price categories, except for apartments between 150 and 250,000 dirhams. And it's very interesting to note that rental leads for units above 500,000 increased 3 times more between last week and the first week of January. So in Abu Dhabi, rental leads have declined, however, except for apartments between 150 and 250,000 dirhams. However, for units above 500,000, they have increased 3 times more between last week and the first week of January. Next slide, please. In the Northern Emirates, rental leads declined since the first week of January across all price categories. However, the least affected category are the cheapest units, which are rentals below 150,000 dirhams. So the least impacted are cheapest units in Northern Emirates that are less than 150,000 dirhams. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at transactions. Now, before I get into transactions, let me just reiterate, transactions that we see now likely started before the COVID-19 crisis. We know that a sales cycle is usually 45 days from beginning to end. So the biggest impact that we will see in sales transactions will probably be around mid to end of May. Now, having said that, the sales transactions increased against the previous week, though they are still 16% lower than the same week last year. So last week, we had a little over 500 sales transactions, which were successfully transferred here in Dubai, which is 16% lower than the same week last year. However, if we look at year-to-date data, meaning we look at all the sales transactions since the 1st of January to today, we are still 9% above 2019 numbers. So I'll repeat myself there. So if we're looking at year-to-date data, meaning all sales transactions since the 1st of January to today, we are still 9% up compared to the same time last year in 2019. Next slide, please. So let me summarize everything that I just said. Despite the number of listings decreasing, and again, it was by a very little number compared to other parts of the world, listing views are up 20% in the last 2 weeks for both sales and rentals. And as I said earlier, I believe that people who are now, fully accustomed to working from home, they have a little bit more time. And I think that they're looking to see what their next move is going to be, whether it's an apartment or a villa townhouse. Maybe people are shifting what they're thinking of going for an apartment to now villa townhouse. And also, I truly believe that after this is all over, we're going to see a surge of end users taking advantage of the low interest rates as well as the less down payment in the market. Next thing is that sales leads were primarily affected in Dubai. Of course, Dubai is the only emirate that's in a 24/7 lockdown. Sales leads for Abu Dhabi and Northern Emirates are up against last year, driven by sales leads for villas. So again, we're seeing that trend shifting from apartment to villas. In rental, the least affected is the high price category in Dubai and the lowest price category in the Northern Emirates. Again, my hypothesis is we have these high net worth individuals who are bargain shopping for a good deal. Rental leads continue to be above 2019 levels in the Northern Emirates. And sales transactions increase against the previous week where we're still below 2019 level for the same week. Now, this week to today, we've had 220 transactions. Next slide, please. So at Property Finder, we want to provide you with the most relevant data that will help you take the right actions for your business. We have the best data in the UAE, and we're providing it to you. We have provided Data Finder to you for free for a month, and we want to make sure that you're successful, because if you're successful, we are successful. So this is why we want this week to show you new pieces of information on search trends. As you have seen, these are extremely valuable insights that will help you take immediate actions. Next slide, please. The first piece of information on search trends this week is on short-term rentals. Short-term is defined by daily, weekly, or monthly rentals. It has been increasing since mid-January as a percent of total rental searches. However, after a plateau in February, it started to increase again in March. This could be a reaction to a lack of visibility we have on our financial situation. So those who need to move maybe don't want to get into a year contract, they're looking to get into a short-term rental. Those who are potentially thinking of buying are probably sitting there thinking, okay, let me see where the prices are going to go. Are they going to go down? Are they going to stay stabilized? And they're probably just going to wait it out for a few months in a short-term rental. The action here is boost your short-term listings. This is an action that you can take immediately and see results. Next slide, please. Last week, there was a lot of questions on commercial real estate, and this is the insight that we have. It has been gradually increasing since February as a percentage of total commercial searches. However, it slowed down early March and then started to increase again in the second week of March. This could be a consequence of the shift from retail business to delivery due to the lockdown situation. So as you can see in the slide, the percentage of warehouse in commercial searches is increasing. And as we all know, if you want to survive, if you're a business and you want to survive in today's world, you need to be online. E-commerce is ruling everything. I don't know about you, but I've had so many deliveries just because I don't want to go outside. So the action here is boost your warehouse listings. Next slide, please. So let's recap the users' insights that we've had from the previous webinars as well as today. The percentage of short-term rental searches is increasing. The percentage of warehouse and commercial searches is increasing. This is the insight that we had from last week. Now, from the previous webinars, customers are increasingly searching for houses, villa and townhouses combined. This is because probably they are valuing outside space. They also look for outdoor spaces and balconies in particular, as well as houses with pools. Virtual tours can support you in generating leads. We are working very hard at Property Finder to innovate and to bring you the latest technology and tools to help you navigate through the situation currently and after, when everything becomes normal. In rentals, the high price category is the least affected. Again, the bargain shoppers, even in the rental category. In rentals, payment terms are significantly more important now. So please talk to your landlords, get them to agree to do 12 checks like the rest of the world. I think it's time that we go that route here. Answering rates are very similar to before the situation. So please increase your answer rate and this will bring you more business. This is key. Thank you.
So there are a few questions on the future on what will happen after the lockdown, how will things turn out? And I want to repeat, we do not have a crystal ball. It's impossible to forecast the future precisely. But as you can see, the user behavior is changing very fast. So the insights that Lynette shared are quite crucial. So if you keep following us and take action on the insights that we're sharing with you, you will hopefully be able to generate more business, and we'll continue to do that with you. Now we have only 2 minutes left, so I want to conclude. Today was a record-breaking day for our webinar attendance. We had significantly more than 500 people dialing in, and this is amazing to see. And we have the best data in the UAE real estate market. Much more than the information that we shared today is available through Data Finder. And as you know, we gave free access to Data Finder. Please ask your account manager if you haven't activated this access. As you can see from the insights, that can help you generate more business. And we want to continue being your best partner during this time and also in the future. And we only do well if your business does well. So we will continue to share insights with you to help you generate more business. And we will also ask you for your feedback so we can make it even better next week. So please answer our survey, and we promise we'll try even harder to be your best partner. Thank you for being with us today. Stay safe, and hopefully see you next week.